myself. You think I'm listening when I'm talking in the first place? I'm doing myself a favor. And our guest. Alright, so we're going to hit go live. And now we're live. Welcome everybody to another edition of Often Pacing Live Morning Show. I got my coffee right here on the side. I don't have my cutesy co-host to drop sick puns as any morning show host would. However, I am your handsome host, Ray Catolo, and you're going to have to trust me on that one. If I've been doing radio for about 6 years, you got to assume I got something going. So, to this morning's broadcast, that was a loud knuckle crack. This morning's broadcast is going to be focused on the National, which is with that it's undoubtedly the biggest race in often pacing because of how far your horse would have to progress in order to even make the final. Because it starts out with the Ace Classic, which is early in the season, then goes to the 6th pace, then goes to the Cabin Open, then you gotta be the fastest of the Cabin Opens to even make the National, which is it's designed to be an end-of-year championship of sorts for the best horses in often pacing. We're about to see them go in about 20 minutes over at the big show down in Australia. We have a consolation and a final to cover for you this morning. Not only that, we have a special guest who I'm not dragging him on. He is voluntarily taking time out of his life because, let's be honest, we have way too much of it to come on to this broadcast and talk to us about himself. He is... Now, let's do it. You guys have been following long enough. If you haven't, then just listen. Today's guest is a driver, man, person. Oh, I felt electric. I'm sure everyone at home was following along with that. You may know him as a driver from the Meadowlands in the winter, or also know him as, I think he's one of the leading drivers over at Buffalo Raceway. And I'm really far from the mic now because I wrote down his number away from the computer. I don't know if I was afraid the computer would take it and then give it out to the public. But that's stupid. But then again, it's 10 in the morning and I'm still waking up. But today's guest is Mr. Drew Monti. How you doing, Drew?
Pretty good. How about you? Thanks for having me today.
I'm doing all right. I'm pushing through. I've had about only a half gallon of coffee, so I'm a quarter of the way there. I
hear you on that one.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're... Well, no, I'm not assuming you'd be up early because you're a horseman. You gotta be up at what, 2 in the morning to train horses?
Well, not 2 in the morning, but after a weekend of racing, I can't say I get to the barn very early on a Monday, but I was here about 8:30, so that's pretty good for me.
Now, for those of you who don't know, not only is Drew Monti a very talented, and I'm saying that, a very talented driver from Buffalo, he is also uncannily Dave Franco's distant relative. Does anyone even know who that is?
I don't know if they do or not. If they do, I'm happy. If not, I let it go.
But you're telling me no one in your life has said, "Are you Dave Franco?"
Yeah, not a lot of people, just once in a while they do, they bring it up and it's interesting, but, not as much as you think.
By a lot of people, I'm sure you mean that one time I tweeted about it like a year ago, because I don't think anyone would ever bring that up. And
exactly.
I feel stupid because I should have had that prepared for the broadcast just to show how much you look like him. But then again, why would Dave Franco be a harness driver?
Yeah.
But you, on the other hand, you're a young gun. You're in your mid-20s, I want to say? Mid-20s?
Yep, 22.
That is not mid-20s. You got to give yourself more credit, Drew.
Early 20s, yeah.
So early 20s, and you're fresh out of college? You went to college up in towards Buffalo.
Yeah, I've been graduated, over a year now. It doesn't feel like that, but last May. So last May I was graduated.
And you went to college, of course, near Buffalo. I don't know if you care if I say where. I'm not going to, because then people could hunt you down. But
yeah.
Why'd you get a degree? Were you not sure if harness would really kick off the way you imagined it could?
My family's been in the business their whole life. They've done it full time their whole life, and I always imagined myself racing horses, but you never know, and it's a competitive lifestyle, and especially nowadays, you never know what's going to happen. A month, a year, 2 years, down the road from now. And they always were, make sure you get an education, even if you want to race horses, that's fine, but make sure you have an education just in case.
So,
And that was always like a staple growing up, and it never interfered with driving horses anyway. So there was no reason really not to do it.
so then when did you get your first taste of actually driving horses? Around 16ish?
Yeah, maybe even a little bit younger than that. The New York Fair Circuit, and it didn't take long to get hooked. It was a quick thing. But my dad drove for almost 25 years, and I always had a driver to look up to, and driving horses, that's what you want to do.
Well,
That's the fun jobs growing up.
I think you want to more look forward than look up, because what's in front of you
Exactly.
matters more.
Right, exactly.
So then you're growing up as a horseman. So is that always kind of the plan for you? Even though college was like mandatory, the plan was always to just try and drive horses.
Like I always grew up, I've always been around horses. I always liked animals. For a little while, I almost was thinking about vet school, but honestly, I don't think I would have had the time or effort to put into it. And then once I started driving, my career took off a little bit. I definitely didn't have the effort to put into it, But that would have been maybe the only other option that was like really, on the ground, realistic. But like I said, things took off the right way, and that kind of, died off naturally.
I think it would be interesting to open up like a pool of everyone from your school that's going into medicine and bet on which ones will go into medicine.
I know. I kind of do that like on my own in my head.
But then how can you make any money?
They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to medical school. Oh, okay, cool. Well, let's see if you make it or not. I hate to be mean about it, but it's a competitive field.
True.
No doubt. But
Drew, the whole point on betting on people's futures is that you bet with other people.
exactly.
You can't bet with yourself.
Exactly. No, can't bet with yourself.
So then, what do you end up going to school for?
Economics.
Oh, that's a budding industry.
Yeah. So
That's
it's
interesting.
something that always interested me, and there's definitely you can go out and get a job with an economics degree. So I was like, this is what I'll do, and plan on racing horses. If I ever gotta, go out and become an employed individual versus a driver.
Yeah, those drivers don't have real jobs. We're all technically unemployed until we get behind the horse.
Right.
There's something poetic to be said about that, or not.
Absolutely.
You could also just be
or
very.
not, right. Exactly.
So then, I take it you stick around Buffalo not only because of college, but also that is where you grew up.
Oh yeah, for sure. All my family's here on both sides, and this is where I grew up, and all my friends are here. And not that saying I would never leave, but I'm still young yet, and I enjoy Buffalo. It's a nice place to live, besides in the dead of winter.
Well, yeah.
It pays the bills. We race pretty much all year round here, and the purse money's always pretty good, and you race 4 days a week in the summertime, so the opportunity is enough where you can stay here full time.
It also pays the bills when you are one of the top drivers.
Exactly, you are correct.
I also wouldn't tell any of your folks that you technically did leave earlier in the winter because you were at the Meadowlands.
Yes, I was at the Meadowlands full time in the winter for probably at least 2 months. To the end of December to the beginning of February, I'd have to think.
Now,
but that was amazing.
What made you so just narcissistic enough to go, I can do this?
When you're in a competitive game like this, and this could be anything, even athletic, you always like to push yourself, and you think you can, do it the next level or become better, at any point in your career. And, the opportunity was there. There was an opening for drivers, and a couple people talked to me about coming, and I was a little skeptical because, it's a big time, right? Even if top guys aren't there, it's still, it's a level up. But I thought to myself, if you're not ready to do it now, when are you going to be ready to do it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm like, well, good or bad, let's take a shot and do it, and just for myself to know if I can do it or not. So I'm really glad I went. It worked out well, I thought.
Realistically, too, it'd only take like one good horse to make or break you.
Oh, yeah, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. I mean, if you get the right one, careers, they've been made and broken on one horse or on two horses or one account, stuff like that.
Which goes to show how much actual work's put into driving. And
Yeah, exactly.
I had to get into my southern conspirator voice. Now
Right.
let me tell you what happened to Kennedy. But anyway, I know what happened to Kennedy. But anyway, that just creeped out a bunch of people at home.
That's okay.
Yeah. So you have that one little experimental year. Are you gonna try again to go down to the Meadowlands? Gonna try and make that a regular thing over the winters?
Yeah, that's my plan. The meet ends here at Batavia like early December, and we're off. It's not like I have anything to do, so I'd like to make it a regular thing, and then depending how the winter goes, maybe stay a little longer this year. We'll see where it takes off from there. If things are going real well, who knows how long I'll stay.
That's usually how it works. You say, look, buddy, I need to crash on the couch for like 2 more days, all right?
Exactly.
I promise the check's coming. Except
Right.
the checks are coming with you.
I'm sure I made a couple of friends that would do that for me, so it's nice. That's how this game is, too. You get down, and for as many bad people that are in it, there's as many good people that want to take care of you, and, they know it's a struggle a lot. Even if you do well, it's a grind.
Look, Drew, I told you my house was crowded. I couldn't fit you. I'm not a bad person.
Can't fit you. I'll sleep on the floor, just anywhere.
They were sleeping on the floors, too.
Right.
I was housing refugees. But, so then you're 22 now, and you're kind of just sticking around your home grounds. Do you have any plans to move away anytime soon, or is the plan just to kind of just stick around?
I've always kind of thought about that. I would like to, maybe move to a different circuit, even if it was full time. That being said, it's difficult to get established, and you got to usually bring your own barn with you to be able to get a chance. But I mean, I've thought about it, but I have no definite plans or secret master plan to move somewhere else and end up staying there or anything like that. But Buffalo's been good enough, for now, and probably for the near future, to stay here and stay at home. So.
Well, then, are you looking to expand in any way your opportunities in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to drive every day, somewhere. Buffalo, it's 4 days a week now, but it's 3 days a week in the winter, spring, and fall. So, I mean, it'd be easier out east because you're so close to so many tracks. It'd be only like an hour, 2-hour drive to certain places.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing with Buffalo. I mean, there are places close. Like I've been going to Tioga on Sundays until we picked up Sundays here.
Mm.
But that being said, it's difficult because not everywhere is like real close. The closest places are 2.5 or 3 hours away.
Now, what I found interesting watching you grow up and race at Buffalo is you had almost like this meteoric rise to being one of the top drivers there. Where do you really attribute that ability to? Like how you got there?
Yeah, what you're saying. I'd have to say, growing up around my dad, my grandfather, they've been in the game their whole lives. And, my dad being a driver, he was really there, kind of over my shoulder to help me out or, coach me through things, whether it be bad or good.
Mm-hmm.
Mental stress versus success, that would definitely be where a lot of it came from. And, of course, my own barn of horses. I mean, we all work hard and, we do pretty well and, that's something to be said for that. But it just, I got a lot of opportunity early because there isn't a ton of drivers here. And, I capitalized on the opportunity and things kind of took off. And in a couple of years, I, ended up being able to be the leading guy. and I'm grateful for that, and hopefully we can keep it going. But yeah, it was kind of like slow and quiet, but then all of a sudden it was like, well, there he is, at the top.
Oh, there he is.
But yeah, I don't mind it being that way, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. And you see, that was the very modest and truthful answer, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I got the line you got to drop from now on. When someone asks you, what do you attribute your success to, you just say, my economics degree.
Yeah, exactly. My economics degree, obviously.
When you're driving and then some driver goes, how'd you beat me? And then you just look back and you go, economics! That would be
exactly.
That would be so entertaining to watch on track.
It would.
There's not a lot.
They'd probably give you the funniest look you've ever seen back. What? Economics? How do you beat me with economics?
That's the reason you don't understand.
Right.
So then finally, off in pacing, of course, what brings us here together, almost like symbolic in that sense, of the joining the real industry with the fans. And I think that's one of the great things with the game is how it's given access to all these people to the actual sport. Because I always say, they're the people you see driving your horses day in, day out. Some of the tracks you see day in, day out are real. They exist.
Yeah.
They're physically tangible.
I like that they've changed since it first started.
Mm-hmm.
I got into the game when I was in the Meadowlands, probably like middle of January. I'm walking into the driver's room, talking to Marcus Miller and Vinny Ginsburg to tell me about this game.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew nothing about it. And, they're showing me, and it was in its, beta stages back then. And I got it, and I was like, you guys like this game? I'm like, is it fun? And they were like, it's fun. They were like, this is how they explained it to me. That, you might not think it's really cool at first, or you might not get into it at first, but all of a sudden, you'll notice yourself that you just have a need to drop horses in a box and often pace.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's an addiction all of a sudden. And I'm like, okay, whatever you say. Well, they were right.
Yeah.
I found myself 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm checking 4 times a day, making sure my horses are in the box. But I'm really happy that, they got real tracks to jump on board and made it more realistic, real drivers. I think that's only better for the sport. It's a more accurate representation.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I thought it would have took off a little bit, but it surprised me how much it's popular. But and not in a bad way. I mean, I'm happy for them guys. They did a great job with it, and I'm happy for the sport. I think it's only going to do us good.
I definitely understand what you're saying with the addiction thing, because this morning before I got on the broadcast, I checked my barn and I saw I have to enter 38 horses. And I dread that, but I know after this I'm going to sit down, I'm going to enter every single one.
Yep, exactly. I checked this morning before I came to the barn. I'm like, you know what? Something had the race last night, right? Let me check real quick.
There's something funny too with the image you painted in my mind when you walked into the driver's room. Have you ever seen Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story?
Absolutely.
What you just reminded me of is the scene where Dewey Cox is walking in and Tim Meadows is going, Dewey, you don't want no part of this.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Dewey goes,
no part of it.
I kind of want a part of this.
I think I want some of it, right? I think I want a part of it.
That is such a great movie. If you have not seen Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story out there, watch it after this broadcast.
Yeah, that's a funny movie. Absolutely.
A quick question before I gotta let you go. You, of course, are in with the millennials, I'd have to assume. I have to say it like that because I'm not. But
right.
if you really...
I would say we both are. Younger generation. Kind of into the technology.
I don't know. Have you seen my Twitter, Drew? But have you really exposed your friends at all to this game and see what they kind of think of it?
I got a handful of friends that they do like coming to the races, and they'll come and watch me. Maybe once or twice a month.
Mm-hmm.
We'll make kind of like a thing out of it, and they've checked out the game. I've showed them it, but they just some of them really don't understand it because they don't have like a jumping off point like horsemen do.
Mm-hmm.
Like you kind of know what you need to do because you race horses for a living. You need to drop a horse in the box and, what a condition sheet looks like and stuff like that. And I think if it was almost like a bit of a tutorial for people that don't know the game, the sport, I mean, I think that would help out a lot with people who don't know anything about harness racing. You know what I mean? They would kind of just have a little bit of a grace period versus people that know all about the sport, and they're kind of ahead of the ball a little bit on that.
Mm-hmm. Well, Drew, thank you very much for joining me this morning. It was a pleasure being able to reminisce with you. Reminisce? We have nothing to reminisce about.
We have nothing to reminisce about.
It was great to talk with you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Drew Monti, everyone. Thank you very much, Drew.
Bye.
And with that, we are segueing straight into the Consolation of the National, which is lined up, and now it's off and pacing. From the inside, Giggity Giggity is firing out, then towards the center, KB Killer and YG Jaden sprinting towards the front as they make their way to that first turn. Smooth Machine towards the center of the track, getting away third, then caught wide, Low Flyer fourth. Giggity Giggity towards the rail is now resignated to fifth, Ace Damage behind him in sixth. Give Me the Gas back seventh, then in front of Turbocharged eighth, ninth comes Frank, and Surf Punk goes to trail the field as they move on to that opening quarter. On the far outside, parked out three wide, YG Jaden sticks the nose in front. Low Flyer splits horses then into second. Third comes KB Killer towards the rail, opening quarter in 24-4. Then parked out towards the center of the track, Smooth Machine now fifth as Surf Punk splits horses while YG Jaden clears the lead. So a lot of action up front heading to that halfway point as here comes Surf Punk now to challenge the lead. Still parked out, Smooth Machine now pacing into second. Towards the inside then of him, Giggity Giggity picks up cover now as Smooth Machine goes for the front off a half in 53-3. So Giggity Giggity's now left uncovered as they move on to the far turn. Smooth Machine though is the leader. Surf Punk is at the inside in third. Second up in the flow then comes KB Killer fourth. Fifth to the inside, YG Jaden from Low Flyer sixth. Ace Damage then seventh. Back to Give Me the Gas. Then towards the outside, Frank second to last and trailing his Turbocharged to 3/4. Smooth Machine a half length in front. Giggity Giggity not advancing to his outside. Surf Punk's locked in. Then KB Killer parked out fourth, ready to tip off covers. They pass 3/4 in 1:21-3 to the top of the stretch. Smooth Machine a length in front. Three wide from the back comes Frank pacing up a storm. Surf Punk then locked to the inside as Giggity Giggity's coming back. And here's Giggity Giggity emerging on lead. Then on the outside, KB Killer second, splitting horses late. Ace Damage towards the center of the track comes Give Me the Gas, chasing after Giggity Giggity. Ace Damage is lunging at him, and Ace Damage has got him! Ace Damage in the final strides got Giggity Giggity. Then Give Me the Gas for third and Turbocharged fourth in 1:46 flat. Well, there was that. That was the Consolation for the National, going to Ace Damage, 146 flat. I don't know if that's a track record at Big Show. I forget if the track record's actually 45-4. It's somewhere in that range. But it was interesting, some of the horses that were in there, like for instance, Giggity Giggity I know is one of the top horses in the game. And so that just makes me wonder, who's in the final? Who are some of these horses going for $3 million? Because none of them look familiar. All of the names I grew up with, and he suddenly sounds like Hank Hill. All the voices I think I'm coming out schizophrenic right now. All the horses I grew up with on Off and Pacing, I don't remember any of them anymore. Whoa! So we got 10 lining up here for the $3 million national final. Let's see who some of these horses are, so we can then perhaps prepare for when we meet them again in a different stakes event, because these are presumably the top horses in the sport right now. For instance, let's see here. We got Big H Wino. Okay, that's going to be a pain to call. Who is coming off of 4 straight wins, has 56 wins to his credit in 109 outings this season in his life, earned over $5.7 million. Seems pretty speedy. He's coming off a 48-3 mile over a Century Mile, which I'm not mistaken, Century's one of the more slower tracks. And scrolling down too, I see a horse that could go over 10 million with the win here. Oh, and she's fast. Sassy Panties for the PJ Fraley stable. A winner of 63 races in 95 starts, coming off a second place finish at Hilltop and 46-1 in the Filly and Mare Open. Now I know what you're thinking. A lot of times, speed on Hilltop is kind of flukish because Hilltop is a naturally fast track. However, this this mare rather, has other starts to support the fact that she is pretty fast, such as 2 starts ago over at the Big Show here. And yeah, here at the Big Show, over at the Big Show, in a Filly and Mare Open, winning in 46 flat after winning in 46-2 in an Open the start before. And then she also has, a win in the Off and Pacing Classic. So she's raced with the best. She seems to be conquering the best. And she seems to be one of the up-and-comers, one of the up-and-coming stars in the sport, and would also be pushed over $10 million in earnings. And then we also have Dream Bigger, who's also pretty speedy, a winner of 60 races in 95 starts, racing for the Shoei Stables, coming off a third-place finish in a Filly and Mare Open over at National Downs in 47 flat. Looking 3 starts ago, however, she went wire-to-wire in a division of the Camfella. This is a 3-year-old filly going up against some older horses, and she won that in 146 flat. That's got to be on par for one of the fastest miles at Camfella recorded. I, again, don't have the track records memorized as I used to because there are so many tracks now, and I'm also in Australia and not Canada, although I've thought about moving, especially since that end of season mark's coming up. So that's basically the field we have going. Oh, Perfect One. I can't not talk about Perfect One. This is another one that could be, oh, it's so close. So close to going over 10 million if she could win this race. She's currently at 8.3 million in career earnings. A winner of 48 races and 108 starts, racing for the Allard Racing Stable. Coming off a second-place finish. That's a swift finish. Second place in a 47-4 mile over at Ocean View Downs. Closing was 10th at the 10th at the half. I'm used to reading this as regular past performance. Was 10th at the half, and then closed to finish second in that 47-4 mile in an Open. Okay, yeah, so it's a boy. For some reason I was thinking, oh, it was a girl against the boys. No, it was a boy. He is a boy. He was not once a boy. I am a real boy, said Pinocchio. Then he was second in his Big Thinker elimination. Seems like he's going to get better with age, but that last mile over at Ocean View definitely stands out, as now we are 35 seconds away from post time. We get one look at the full field. I've only been talking about some of the horses to watch from this race. Of course, Sassy Panties, probably the biggest threat to anyone else's chances to win this race, as she is looking to get over that $10 million mark. As now we are 14, 13, 12, 11. Time just does not stop, does it? 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Now I'm faster than the clock. What does that say about me? Who knows? Now's not the time to get introspective. It's race time. I was almost about to go into a Rick Uppel impression, but they're in motion and approaching the start. Off and pacing in the national final, and from the far outside, Mount Vernon being launched to the lead with Tyler St. Louis. Then to the inside comes Sassy Panties up towards second. In between horses, Chicago is moving up for positioning as they move around that first turn. Then getting away fourth comes Going Far Away. Big H Wino is pacing fifth. Outside sixth, Dream Bigger looking for a spot, dropping back then. So Art of This World will take the sixth spot. Back then eighth to Brooks Way in front of Huge Fan and the trailer. Perfect One. On past the opening quarter in 25 flat, Mount Vernon is the leader. As they move into the backstretch, Chicago sits the pocket. Advancing outside comes Dream Bigger. Bresnahan trying to get her to the front as now she moves up towards second, up to the leader's wheel, matches strides and takes the lead coming to that halfway point. Shuffle to fourth, then Sassy Panties in front of Going Far Away in fifth. Big H Wino is sixth. Then it's back to Art of This World seventh. Brooks Way eighth. Ninth to the outside, Perfect One, having only Monti, huge fan to his inside beating as they pass that halfway point in 53 and 3/5, led by Dream Bigger to the far turn. A length in front of Mount Vernon in second. Chicago is third. Sassy Panties yet to be moved from fourth. Then it's Going Far Away fifth in front of Big H Wino sixth, as no one's moving out to challenge this leader coming to three quarters. It's Dream Bigger, unpressured so far. Mount Vernon sits the pocket. Third, then Chicago. Sassy Panties is still in fourth. Nobody's coming after him as they come to three quarters. It's still Dream Bigger hitting that station in front of Mount Vernon in 1:21 and 2 as they come to the top of the stretch. Out of third, here comes Chicago to take a shot at Dream Bigger. Mount Vernon's locked in. Sassy Panties looks for room to tip out. Then from the back, Big H Wino not advancing, and then to the inside, Going Far Away. They come down to the eighth pole. Sassy Panties now angling out for Roglitz, coming after Dream Bigger. Then in between horses, Chicago Going Far Away with nowhere to go. Here's Sassy Panties sweeping to the lead, and Sassy Panties has done it. Going Far Away second, Chicago third, Dream Bigger fourth in 1:45 and 4. Now I'm just checking this for my reference as I switch the scenes. 45 and 4 is not a track record. Track record actually set, interestingly enough, by Dream Bigger. 1:45 and 3. You see, if I remembered that, I would have mentioned it. But now we saw Dream Bigger did not dream big enough. As the horse we expected, Sassy Panties, cruises off a perfectly timed drive by Jacob Roglitz to win the $3 million national final. And with that, it's time for us to depart. Please make sure you tune into North American Harness Update Fridays at 9 p.m. on SRN1, 148.ca/1. That is in about 5 days from now. Today is Monday. Don't put it in your calendar, because I know human behavior. If you put it into the calendar, you won't do it. So you just got to remember, or I'm just going to constantly remind you, it's coming up, it's coming up. So then when 8 o'clock on Friday night rolls around, you go, you know what? I got free will. I can make my own decisions. I want to listen to this guy. And trust me, you will only slightly regret it. I will, of course, be joined by my usual co-host here on Off and Pacing Live, Mike Prebozy, as well as Rod Allums Jr., who's not usually on this broadcast, but he is usually on the show. And that's Friday at 9 p.m. I want to again thank Drew Monti for coming on. It's always fun to talk to these drivers, especially the person that I am, being able to talk to these drivers. It's fun to be able to hit it off with people that I never really thought I could hit it off with. So I'm learning just as much as they are about me. And it's interesting. Growth is an interesting thing to observe, but that is way too dense for virtual horse racing. Off and Pacing, of course, available in the App Store, Google Play, and on the Apple App Store. If you do not have it somehow downloaded onto your device yet, you can go and do that right now, because I'm leaving. I have nothing more to say. I never really had anything to say to begin with, but thank you for joining me for another edition of Off and Pacing Live. We'll see you next time, when that time comes.